The story of the KVR begins in the late 1890s. At the time, the Canadian Pacific Main Line ran just north of all of British Columbia's boom mining towns. And when washouts in the Fraser Canyon repeatedly cut off that main line between Kamloops and Vancouver, the railway needed a secondary line. They would build the Crow's Nest Pass line, which branched off from Lethbridge, Alberta, all the way to Midway, BC, and the Kettle Valley line would then connect Midway to just east of Vancouver in Hope. Now enter Andrew McCullough, the engineer who would be tasked with finding a way through some of the most impossible terrain. And unlike other main lines, McCullough didn't have much of a choice in where he was going to go. He knew that the mountains would dictate the route that he would use to connect these two lines. Construction began in 1910, and workers would come to call this McCullough's Wonder, amazed by what they had accomplished by blasting through solid granite, carving switchbacks into sheer cliffs, and bridging deep canyons and conquering the grades that seemed unconquerable. And against all odds, 6 years later, in 1916, the line was complete. And those workers, they got paid $2 a day, and they even got to keep their work boots, which was pretty ahead of the times.
They don't even have dental.
Freight and passenger service would begin operating later that year, and it revolutionized how the country exported BC fruit, which I'll cover more on later on in the video. But despite the engineering brilliance, the KVR actually never turned a profit for a single penny. And by the 1950s, the completion of the Crow's Nest Highway made passenger service obsolete. I mean, why take a train for 24 hours when you could drive it in 12? And in 1964, the Canadian Pacific would begin shutting down their 400-kilometer stretch of track in pieces, leading up until 1989, where at this point they were down to the final 16 kilometers of track. But a group of local rail fans and train enthusiasts would muster together $10,000 in hopes of running a heritage steam excursion on it. They had approached the Canadian Pacific, they had agreed, and those rail fans would then go on to form the Kettle Valley Railway Society. And fast forward 30 years later, today this train still rolls through that picturesque Prairie Valley to the edge of the Okanagan Lake. And by the way, the Canadian Pacific, they actually never collected a penny of that $10,000 promised in hopes of giving the startup the best chance of surviving. And that's where my journey begins today. Now this Prairie Valley station actually is not original. With only 16 kilometers of track left to operate with, the KVR had to improvise, and this station was built in the 1990s. But inside, they have some seriously amazing tributes to the railway's roots, and including a route map that illustrates when it was fully connected to the Canadian Pacific Main Line in Hope and in Lethbridge.
Okay, so you're going to be in the Curtin car, seat number is written down. Head out the door to the right, board at gate 2 at 10:15.
Thank you very much.
Welcome aboard. Curtain car, that's going to be up the stairs here to the right, all the way to the end of the train.
Thank you very much. And right on cue, our ride pulled up.